And he said, like, how do you get over the hurdle of people like taking you seriously in business? And like you go sell somebody a 50, 60, 70, 80. Sometimes we sell $400,000 or $500,000 projects.
Right.
And I said, dude, you just got to own it. Like when you are owning the fact that you believe that you are the number one expert in that space, you're going to demand attention. It doesn't matter how old you are.
I agree.
It doesn't matter if you're a boy, a girl, black, white, Hispanic, gay, straight. Like, if you are the best, you will win. Yeah. And in order to get to that point, you got to have confidence. And in order to get that confidence, you got to put in the work.
It's time to level up a few thousand degrees with the Lava Hot Podcast and host Joseph Connell Jr. You'll hear from ordinary people who are doing extraordinary things, from tech startup CEOs and marketing professionals to authors, investors, and sales trainers. This show will be packed with information to help you level up in life or business, taking you from on fire up to lava hot.
Hello and welcome to the Lava Hot Podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Connell. Today we are going to be diving into a topic that is near and dear to me. It's going to be about scaling a business, but the thing that I find so unique about the individual that I have here today, traditionally throughout my career, I've worked with a variety of different home service companies, variety of different industries in general. Some of those individuals have gone the franchise route, have gone the corporate route of just expanding locations. But I've not seen this type of concept paired out in the way that that this individual is doing it. So let me give you a quick bio about Carnie. So Carnie Fryfogle is a fourth-generation contractor who grew up learning the tricks of the trade from his father and family of contractors. In 2017, he started C3 American Exteriors. It's a roofing and exterior construction company. In 2022, he created another company, which is CR3. That company has become an influential leader in the industry, achieving top 10 producing status, ranked on the top 100 roofing list and Inc. 5000. Carnie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so what I find interesting about what you're doing, so I just want to say I love roofing contractors. I love home service companies just in general. It's where most of my career has been like ingrained. And I think it comes from my roots of working for 84 Lumber. You can't work in the building industry and not have like a certain admiration for contractors themselves. But throughout the last 11 years, working in the marketing space, most of the clients I've worked with are typically home service companies. And they all have like this drive to like, one, put food on the table for themselves, put food on the table for their actual service technicians that are out in the field. And they're trying to really grab market share, usually on a local scale. Some cases it will be regional, but what you're doing, and it's what I wanted to bring you onto the show for, I want to understand like how you've gone from maybe starting a localized company, but then created this concept that can really scale. And from what you were telling me, you're at about 12 different locations across the country.
Yep, and we also service 10 states at the moment.
Wow, very cool. So can you tell me a little bit of the background? Tell me like how you got started outside of the family roots.
Right.
And then give me a little bit of like that first company and then how it's evolved from there.
Right. So I'll keep it somewhat short and sweet, but I want to make sure that we get it all in there. Ever since I can remember, I've been around construction. I tell everybody, I didn't choose this life, it chose me. Anytime my father needed a helping hand, ever since I was a little kid, I actually got, I should probably send it to you. It's a good little photo to put and pair up with this. It's a photo of me. I look like I can hardly walk. Right. And I got a tool belt on. I got tools all around me. I got a hammer, nails, 2x4s. I don't even know what I'm doing. Right. But I look like somebody you'd say is going to grow up and be in the construction industry.
He's going to swing a hammer.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to put a tool belt on when I get out of high school. So I never really knew what I wanted to do, honestly. I thought I wanted to go to college, thought I wanted to play sports. And the closer it got to going to school, I very quickly started to realize that, like, I feel like I'm just going to go waste 4 years. I'll probably go party and play a little bit of sports. Everybody wants to go be a professional athlete at some point when they're a kid, if they're competitive,
right.
Knew that was probably off the table. And even if it was, the sport that I played, lacrosse, is not super, you're not going to get paid a lot. All those guys got a second job. So
yeah,
even if I really excelled, I kind of figured I'd end up getting out. I kind of saw what's going on in the world today. And this is, close to 10 years ago, where people go to school, get a degree, and then they end up working a job that they didn't even need the degree for. So I figured I'd kind of get ahead of it, grab a tool belt, start helping my father, get a 4-year jump start on making money and seeing what the real world's like while my friends are in college.
Yeah.
So prior to that, though, I'd been around construction, so learned a ton of tricks of the trade from my father. Like you mentioned in the bio, my father's the most influential person in my life, literally my best friend.
Very cool.
And I got a way to tie him in here in a little bit. Good. But got out of college, put a tool belt on, started helping my father, and very quickly started to realize that what he was doing was not very scalable. We were doing everything from new custom homes to big remodels, tearing people's roofs off and going up 2-3 stories. There's some very intricate stuff.
Yeah.
And since it was so intricate, it was very tough for us to scale because we ended up having to do everything. And one time I had kind of a come to Jesus moment with my father, and I'm like, dude, we're here and we should be somewhere else. Like, we already got this person's commitment. We already got their business. We need to go find another business. So I joked with him one time. I'm like, dude, we need to figure out how to do $5 million worth of revenue in a year. And he's like, we're 2 people. That will never happen. And I'm like, I think we could do it.
Yeah.
Probably doing $750,000 at the time, which isn't.
I like that because I was going to ask the question. I'm glad you kind of went there first, because I was curious, what type of revenue you guys were doing, and then
it was my father kind of working as an independent and kind of picked and chose what he did, and he did well. Yeah, I mean, he made a decent living. He's in a good spot right now, but I kind of wanted more out of my life, so. Once I realized it wasn't scalable, went to him and said, hey, I think that we should take a look into doing the exteriors, primarily roofing. I saw that it was very scalable. At the time, it was kind of like an untapped market, and I don't know, I just knew that there was something there. So went to him.
Yeah.
We were both in different points of our life. I was 21, 22 years old at the time, super young and ambitious, wanted to take on the world. My father was kind of in the 4th quarter of his career, I guess you would say.
Sure.
Already put in 25, 30 years of work, and he wasn't looking to take risk or a ton of headaches or hire employees. So we just didn't see eye to eye on that. And ultimately what ended up happening is we had a pretty lengthy conversation that ended up with me going to do my own thing. So it was difficult, though, because I respect the hell out of my father, love my parents, and it was a tough conversation, especially for a 21, 22-year-old to have with their adult parents.
Right, yeah.
So after that, went ahead, got into business, was selling real estate at the same time, trying to put the pieces together. I didn't know whether I wanted to sell real estate or install roofs. I was just a kid trying to make some money.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, when you were in school, did you get good grades? A student, B student, C student?
Yeah, I did pretty good. I mean, I don't have the stats
Sure.
with me, but I'd say like a 3.2, 3.4. I was a good student, but I didn't really try.
Yeah.
I didn't really apply myself. I was just more interested in going and playing sports and just kind of, I don't know, school for me was, I don't want to sound arrogant, but it was easy for the most part. The only thing I wasn't good at was English, because I hated to read. Yeah. I hated to read and I hated to write, which is funny because I like to read books now.
Oh, that's how I am. All throughout high school, I think I just coasted. I often say I don't remember doing a lick of homework, anything. No,
dude, I would sit
maybe
in the
I
back
did, I don't know, but
I'd sit in the back of the classroom and just zone out.
Yeah.
But I did well. Yeah. I don't know.
But the reason why I was curious is that I saw a video the other day, and they were talking about your typical entrepreneur is usually a C student, and that kind of falls in line with your.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was not an honor student by any means. I really didn't apply myself, and I was basically just what most people do. Honestly, you work the work week and you basically work for the weekend. That was me. I was going to school for the weekend to be able to go play sports. I wanted to go play the football game on Friday night.
Right. Yeah, no, and I like that you recognize that early on. Okay, I could go to college, maybe get a degree. It's very similar to me. I had a certain number of friends that they went to college, right out of the gate. I went to work for 84 Lumber because for me, just college just didn't make sense for me. Like I didn't really, at the time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then when I went to work for 84 Lumber, they had me in like this management program. And like within a year, I became a co-manager of a store. By the time I was 20, I wasn't even 21. So I was still 20 when I was managing my own lumber yard. I had employees that were like twice my age.
Right.
That's always fun. I would imagine you've had to
everybody I'm in business with is double my age.
Right. Yeah. So that definitely in the world of just running a business, there's a certain amount of like challenges, being a leader, making sure you're making the right decisions, the right call. I would imagine that also adds a little bit to it, the fact of that age gap. So I would be curious to hear like, how you've kind of overcome that hurdle. I think oftentimes in my perspective is it comes down to like how you do things day in and day out.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because I just got a phone call here within like the last week to 2 weeks from one of our locations, actually one of the ones that's kind of right next door here without giving away too much.
Sure.
And he asked me, because he's younger, I mean, he's low to mid-20s, and he said, like, how do you get over the hurdle of people, like, taking you seriously in business? And, like, you go sell somebody a 50, 60, 70, 80. Sometimes we sell $400,000 or $500,000 projects.
Right.
And I said, dude, you just got to own it. Like, when you are owning the fact that you believe that you are the number one expert in that space, you're going to demand attention. It doesn't matter how old you are.
I agree.
It doesn't matter if you're a boy, a girl, black, white, Hispanic, gay, straight. Like, if you are the best, you will win. Yeah. And in order to get to that point, you got to have confidence. And in order to get that confidence, you got to put in the work. And it's all the reps that you put in outside of the day-to-day. Like, if you just go and run your appointments, make your normal phone calls, and that's all the commitment that you put into it, you're not going to get much better. You're going to be just as good as everybody else. Right. It's what you do outside of the 9 to 5, outside of the pre-scheduled day-to-day that makes you extraordinary. And if you want it bad enough, aging, that ain't going to stop you.
Yeah.
I look at it as an extreme benefit, honestly, because with me being positioned where I'm at in the marketplace, not all of them, but a majority of my competitors that play at like the level that we're playing at, 50, 60 years old, if not older than that. And they although they have more business experience in terms of years,
right,
a lot of the older generation's kind of stuck in their ways. They're not receptive to new technology, new marketing initiatives. They look at it as like, what I've done is good enough. It's got me where I'm at. Right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. But like, dude, the universe is constantly changing and constantly evolving. So if you don't adapt with it, you'll get left behind.
Especially in the world of marketing.
It changes. Every week Google changes something. So you have to have a pulse on it. And I look at it as a major benefit because as younger people, we grew up in a generation where things were changing rapidly. Like look at how much cell phones have evolved. Look at everything. Everything has evolved so much in the last 20 years. But we're used to that because we grew up with it. Somebody who's 50, 60 years old, like they're just
they need to hire someone just to explain it to them.
Correct.
Just so they can get.
They hardly know how to download the app on the phone.
No, I talk about it often. If you just talk about in the world of marketing, let's just say with TikTok, like throughout the pandemic. There were people starting TikTok accounts in the real estate space, and they would come in and eat the lunch of the 20-year veterans because they just knew how to like turn on that thing and hit record and just publish a video, and they just did it over and over and over. And I would say that to the young guy you were referring to that's like within your group is that part of that like how you get over it is just you just keep doing it.
Right.
Because eventually, it reminded me of a scenario. I mentor a young kid. He's 15 years old. Cool story. He withdrew from school, so he homeschools himself during the day, and then he has a marketing agency as well that he runs during the day as well.
Good for him.
Yeah, and it's been really cool to see him like kind of grow his revenue. And one of the questions he asked me is like, similar question, like how do I get people to take me serious in marketing? When I'm 15, I'm usually talking to people that are much older than me. And I said, well, you got to start spinning it back. I mean, if they start kicking to you, this age thing, And I would address it up front. Like I would be like, hey, oftentimes when I start working with somebody, they have a concern about my age. Let me ask you, is that one thing that would deter you from wanting to move forward
like
with me?
confront the boogeyman.
Yeah, like confront it up front. Or if they like give you a kickback as an objection when you're like making a cold call, like, hey, you just seem like a young kid. You wouldn't let that stop you from having me help you with these 3 things that I just noticed.
Right. Well, one thing that I would tell you, and then we can kind of change topic here, but one thing that I would say, because I've trained, 120, 130 salespeople within the last 4.5 years, and continuing to train them at other locations as they start to recruit people. One thing that I tell more inexperienced salespeople in our space is just pure honesty and transparency, and looking somebody dead in the eyes and being like, hey, look, I haven't been doing this for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, like some of the people that are coming in here, and you own it in a way that, hey, those people, they might already have a book of business. They might already be getting 3, 4, 5 phone calls a day. And oftentimes those people are looking at you like transactional. Like they don't need you. They don't need to earn your business. They've proven themselves in the industry. Right. Versus when you have somebody who's young and hungry, and they're, at that time you have to, you remember starting. At that time you have to treat every single customer as if they're your last, because sometimes they are your last. The pipeline's not always super full when you first get started. So to learn how to spin that and not make it a negative thing and make it a positive thing for a customer, whereas you can look them dead in the eyes and say, hey, I don't have all these other commitments. To be completely honest, I'm new to this, but I'm eager to learn. I want to earn your business, and I will make sure that you are completely satisfied when I get done with this project, because you are the only customer that matters to me right now. Because if I do a great job for you, you're going to refer me to friends, family, neighbors. And the 20-year-old vet, I can't say that about him, because he's so used to doing transactions. He's so numb to this type of situation where it's just another day for him, versus somebody like me who just wants to do my best to service you, because I am starting to build the foundation of my career here. Right. And when you can learn to make that mental switch and make it a positive thing instead of a negative thing, I think that's where you can find a lot of success with selling, especially in our space. Yep.
Yeah, I often say that, your biggest strength can also be your weakness.
Of course, it's all
your biggest weakness can also be your biggest strength.
It's perspective.
Sometimes the companies that have been around a long time, they might not be up to snuff on certain technologies.
Like
they might not be. Yeah, exactly. yeah, might be the next Blockbuster.
Yeah.
So all right, so we hit a little bit on C3, which was the first company you started in 2017. 2022 is when you start CR3.
Yep.
And that is the business that you've been scaling rather rapidly across the country. You said you're in 10 states now. I want to get a pulse on that. Like how did that start? Like, tell me about like how you started to scale that out. And I'm curious about company culture is something that I feel is like, it's everything.
Yep.
How do you keep that culture pumping from afar? Like when you have people that are in different states, different, maybe even mindsets that you got to try to navigate and try to ingrain that CR3 way into their everyday.
Right. Okay. So I'll start with kind of how we got into the franchise concept. So we started to touch a little bit about C3 and kind of what the early stages of that. First year, started learning a little bit about insurance. Hailstorm hit, and I just want to give you a quick summary of what the timeline looked like. Fall of 2017 started the company. The spring of 2018, hailstorm hit, and at that point, I just learned a little bit about insurance. Very quickly, called my father, called my cousin, said, if there's ever been a time to make money, it's right now. So we all loaded up some trucks, got to work. We wrote like $2.3 million within the next 6 months. After that, 2019, we wrote $7.7 million. Year after that, 10.3. Year after that, 14, just under 14.7. And we were growing very fast. Very fast, and the goal was to just be this large corporate monster. While doing that, I had packed up and I started traveling all up and down the East Coast. I got a travel trailer, like what people refer to as like a camper, like a 40, I want to say it was like 45 foot. And I started I started traveling, going to different locations, starting to open them up. And what we found was when I got into an area and a territory, it would explode.
Yeah.
But when I left, the sales would start to diminish. Yeah. And then I'd circle back around and sales would start to increase and then they'd start to diminish. So we saw this popular theme, and we hired some managers. We paid some big salaries because we thought that if we put a manager down there, we'd be able to keep the same type of momentum that I had down there. And what we found is that not having an owner-operator present in every single marketplace was very difficult because you had employees that were running around doing whatever. You had managers that didn't have a whole lot of equity and skin in the game. Yeah. And they looked at it as more of a means to make money and generate income for themselves and their family versus this is my end-all be-all. Like, I don't have a plan B. This is the only plan I got. Right. So we're going to make it work. And so we realized that the large corporate model was very difficult. And if we wanted to be, our goal for the last 4 years has been to be $1 billion company. That has been our number. It sounds like a pretty large one for most people, but that's the number that we've been fixated on. And we realized that if we were going to do it in my lifetime, we probably had to change direction. Because, I mean, you look at these companies that are 50, 100 years old, they're able to do it in that amount of time. And fortunate with marketing, the online presence, communications a lot differently. You can kind of shrink that time down, but when you try to build at a corporate level, it's kind of inevitable. Like that father time is just brutal. Like it just takes so long, especially to get it takes so long to get the right people in place. Yeah. And you get the right person, but then they need to be exposed to the organization, the culture. They need some more experience to understand exactly what's going on here. And all of that could be like a 3 to 5 year window to get the right person and then get them to where they need to be in order to take a territory from zero revenue to $10, $15 million. So we saw it being very difficult. And my partner, Mark, came to me, and I don't really know what was going through his mind, but he just looked at me one day and he's like, I think if we're going to do what we set out to do, we got to change gears and we got to franchise. And when you say franchise, everybody right away, we start thinking about McDonald's, fast food. So we all know what franchising is to an extent, but I didn't know what that meant. Like, okay, you want to go be McDonald's. Where do you freaking start? That sounds pretty difficult. So opened up a book, read through a book, and I'm like, yeah, this sounds very interesting. Sounds hard as hell. But I think it's something that we should look into because the beautiful thing about franchising. But
getting a company to $1 billion, I mean.
No, there ain't nothing easy about that either.
Yeah, nothing easy about that. You're going to have to learn how to do some hard shit in order to get there.
So the beautiful thing about franchising is you have the best of both worlds. You have a large corporate conglomerate that has all this purchasing power. It's got all this horsepower. It's got national brand recognition. There's national referrals because if you do business in Ocean City, Maryland here, and you move down to Jupiter, Florida, and you need a new roof, I can service you there. Yeah. And you recognize that brand. So when you Google roofers near me and you use CR3 in Ocean City, Maryland, and you see CR3 in Jupiter, it's a brand and a name that you recognize because you already use them or somebody that you know use them. So it's a very powerful concept. But the beautiful thing about it is you have that large corporate structure that's good for the independent business owner, but also the consumer. And the even better part about it is you have an owner-operator that wakes up and goes to bed in the community that they service. Right. And they have skin in the game too. These are owner-operators, dude. These people, the people who are in business with us who own a franchise location, almost all of them, it's their end-all be-all. Like that's it. It's either the sole way to generate income for their family, or it's the end game for them. Like they're going to build it and scale it and sell it, or whatever the case may be. So it's a very powerful concept, and the more that you start looking into it, it's why the biggest brands and names that we all know and love and use every single day are as dominant as they are. Subway, McDonald's, Anytime Fitness, like they're the largest players in the game. 9 times out of 10 are a franchise concept. Yeah.
So what I'm loving about this conversation, back in May, we launched a marketing software that we set up for local to mid-sized companies. It's called Slingshot. And the way that I saw that I wanted to have this platform set up, in the way that I wanted to scale it, was to reach individuals that are part of the gig economy. Think of people that are like traditionally, like they're running Uber, or they're running groceries, or these typical gig economy type of jobs.
Right.
And what I wanted to do was offer them an alternative, which is what we call our Slingshot consultants. So as soon as we started putting it out there, we started recruiting salespeople. We recruited like within that first month about 15 sales reps.
Wow. Explain to me what Slingshot is.
Yeah, so Slingshot is a marketing automation software. It takes 15 of the best marketing tools or software. Think like Calendly, your CRM, a social media planner, your booking software, email marketing, text marketing. It takes all these tools and integrates it into one system.
Okay.
And then we've taken that one system and then we've rolled it out. So like as soon as we launched, we started onboarding new clients rapidly. And then once we started introducing the Slingshot consultants, or like the concept of that, it was a very similar thing. Like the thing that I always said is I want to have a Slingshot consultant in every single major city. And the goal is that they sign up as a Slingshot consultant, they go through the training, they learn how to sell the software, but ultimately they learn how to take care of that customer. They learn how to take care of the businesses right in their backyard. They get to put their flag down in the ground and they say, look, I'm the Slingshot consultant of Ocean City, Maryland, or Annapolis, or Kentucky, wherever you're at. Yep. And the whole concept of that, we wanted to make an impact to local to mid-sized companies, but not just right here in Ocean City, Maryland. Right. So the cool thing is, since we've launched, and this is back, it started in May is when we like really launched. We're at about 15 Slingshot consultants. We've been onboarding customers from all over the country, which has been really cool. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation, because I have a feeling that I'm going to start learning some more stuff on like how to continue to ramp that up, because there's things that I'm learning too as I go. Like, how do I organize trainings, and how do I get everybody kind of on board? How do I roll out a new marketing collateral to everybody all at once to make sure that they have it?
Right. I mean, that's all part of growth, man. Where if you try to, we always say it's paralysis through analysis. Yeah. If you try to just find a solution for everything before you do anything, you ain't ever going to get off the fucking couch. No. It's just not going to happen. So,
no. One thing we say around here, and we stole this from Grant Cardone, is commit first, figure the rest out later.
Yeah, and
so we just hit go. Like even when we launched software, I don't even know. It's like when Apple rolls out a phone, when they ship out a new phone, they know that there's some problems,
right?
And they're going to fix them through software updates. We had I had some things that I still need to figure out, but it's like, you know what? If I wait every day until everything's completely perfect, we'll never get started. So we're just going to launch, and then we'll correct as we go. And I think that's how, when they go to the moon. When you shoot towards the moon, you got to make those corrections while you're going, not at the beginning. So, but yeah, sorry, I'll let you get back to it. So you started figuring out why you wanted to franchise.
Yep. So then we basically so I don't want to get too hokey, but I'm very aware that like I think that we control a lot of stuff, and once we started voicing that we wanted to franchise, we were kind of vocal about it. We started talking to some people. People asked us what our intentions were. We didn't know how we were going to do it. Had no clue. And this is like a year and a half before we actually officially franchised. Right. Just talks about it, starting to prepare it. Somebody will say, hey, what's your goal or your vision for C3? And we're like, well, we're going to franchise. Had no fucking clue what we were going to do. Had no clue how we were going to do it, how we were going to start. And it's funny because we were talking to a new marketing company, and once again, the universe works in a funny way. My business partner, he just caught up with and I don't want to say too much, but long story short, there was a negative, what most people would look at as a negative thing, a divorce, right? And he was going through a divorce, and he realized that I should probably start catching up with some of my friends that I haven't talked to in a while. We're all getting older. It's time to circle back around. So he calls up one of his friends from, I guess, high school, and they're just talking. He's like, well, what are you doing now? So they're playing catch up. And my partner told his longtime friend that I'm in a part of a roofing company now. So he's running around with me, and he goes, well, that's interesting because my daughter is a part owner at a marketing company, and that's all they do is marketing for roofing contractors.
Oh,
you
very
should talk
cool.
to her. So
Yeah.
we're like, okay, whatever. So we talked to her, and they, of course, want to rebuild our website, and the proposal's pretty hefty. I want to say it's like $12,000-$15,000. I'm like, dude, I don't feel like spending $12,000-$15,000 right now.
Yeah,
but,
on a site,
but
right?
something just felt right. Like they spoke our language, they understood our industry, and we're like, you know, we had some closed door conversations. Like, you know what? Let's just give them a shot. So we commit, and we're consulting about this website, and they ask us what's the future hold. And of course, this is we have this mental mindset that we're going to franchise. We tell them we're interested in franchising. Well, one of the individuals on the call, a light bulb went off, and she goes, "I got to introduce you to our mentor, or her mentor." I'm sorry. Well, her mentor, ironically, is one of the most notorious people in the franchising industry.
Very cool.
John Hewitt. So do you know Jackson Hewitt? Mm-hmm. So Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, that was John. Yeah. John sold it for $500 million. Wow. Then he left. I'm going to brag about John a little bit, but then he left because he had a non-compete for 3 years. But the non-compete wasn't in Canada. Left, started a little baby tax firm called Liberty Tax.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Built that up to $2.1 billion, and then he went ahead and exited and started a company called Loyalty Brands. And Loyalty Brands is just a collection of brands where they take concepts such as ours and help them to scale through franchising, which is from their 100-plus years of experience, combined experience in franchising. So light bulb went off in her head. She said, I got to introduce you to John. And we did some quick research, read John's book. Ironically, within 24 hours, he was in Frederick, Maryland, which is like an hour from our office in Hanover, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Drove down there, had dinner with him, put together. I mean, you say you put together a deal, but like it took like 6 months to put together a deal.
Sure, yeah.
Put together a deal with him and his team, and in about the middle of 2022, I'd say like June, July, we solidified a deal with Loyalty Brands, and then started focusing on the franchise concept. And franchising is it's highly regulated. There's so many rules, restrictions, things that you can and can't do. And it's a very lengthy process to be able to even offer franchises. Mm-hmm. It took us about 6 months to be able to actually finalize everything and go to market. Very expensive too, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
The legal fees just to put together, it's called a FDD, franchise disclosure document. Like it's enough to make you want to throw up. Yeah. And put it all together. The beginning of this year, we were able to go to market. So January 1st of 2023. And then within 4 short months, onboarded 7 new locations, and then we just inked another one last week in Long Island, New York, and we're actively working with like 6 or 7 new prospects who we're pretty confident will close in the next 60 days. So it's been interesting. Way harder than I thought it would be, though.
Yeah, no, but sounds like it was worth it.
So far.
Yeah, so far.
Talk to me in 3 to 5 years, and then I'll give you my honest
well,
opinion.
3 to 5 years, if you keep growing at this rate, you have, 12 locations now? You'll have, 30?
We had some very lofty goals. Year one, so all of 2023, the goal was to open 50 locations. I think looking at where we're at right now, what's in the pipeline, and we have some different marketing initiatives that we're working on, and it's so new to us. So we're like, constantly revamping and trying to figure out what the right message is to get the right people to attract the right people that we're looking for. I think we're going to end up somewhere between 25 and 50 by the end of the year. So it's a pretty good start.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how targets are. I mean, you should always set the target. You've read Grant's book, so you should always set the target high.
Aim small, miss small.
Yeah. Aim large. Still hit pretty high. Yep. So, all right. So your 12 locations goal to get to 50 by the end of the year. Thinking about 25. What does that look like? Like how do you manage that? Like how do you manage like consistency within the brand? How do you manage maybe consistency and quality?
Yeah. So the fortunate thing. So I want to kind of take a step back. not anybody, but most people who've built something great, they don't do it alone.
Right.
They don't do it alone. So like you start talking about partners and bringing other people in, and obviously there's a price to pay for that. I mean, I just heard something crazy the other day. Like Elon Musk only owns like 10% of Tesla, and like Jeff Bezos owns 10 to 15% of Amazon. So that kind of goes to show you that when you want to do something pretty extraordinary,
of scale, yeah,
it's gonna take the right people, and in order to get there, like there's gonna be typically partnerships and stuff like that along the way. So
right,
very fortunate to have Loyalty Brands and have that partnership there with people who've been there, done that. I mean, their best year at it was either Jackson Hewitt or Liberty Tax. I want to say they opened up like 460 locations in 1 year.
Wow,
that's almost 2 locations a day.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't count the weekends. So
yeah.
Having that relationship there gives us a lot of confidence to know that we're making the right moves. And a lot of it's a learning curve, man. But the one big thing with us is like you're not going to outwork us. Like we will outwork you, and we might not have it all figured out, but I promise you, every single day we're working to revamp it. The company that comes on I'm training one Monday and Tuesday of this week, they're going to have a better experience than the first ones that came on. Yeah. And then once we get to location 50 and 100 and 200 and 250, it's all just fine-tuning it. And we just talked about it 10 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. It's all just part of the process, and you just kind of got to start taking steps forward. Beautiful thing about franchising, once again, though, is they fall under our umbrella. We do have somewhat of like a stake, I guess you would say, in that individual location. But you got to remember, there's an owner-operator there. Yeah. There's somebody there like you, like me, who is...
that's taking full ownership of that location.
Full ownership. Now, keep in mind, they still look to us for a lot. They want their hand held, and a lot of these people are relatively, they're in like the infancy of like their entrepreneurial career. Mm-hmm. These people are coming to us for a reason, because they want a system, they want help scaling. They've kind of reached a system in their a ceiling in their current business. And they are somewhat, I wouldn't say demanding, but they're looking for some help. Yeah. But ultimately, it starts at the top down. So we got to get them in. We got to train them properly. We got to have a pulse on their market. And like I literally just got off a plane at 1 o'clock in the morning yesterday, because I was in Michigan with one of our locations, making sure that all the stuff that we've been talking about the last 3 to 4 months is actually starting to come to fruition. Yeah. But it's hard, man. It's just like anything else. The more that you try to do, the harder it is to start to manage it. Yeah. And a lot of it we're in this weird stage where, since we're in the infancy of franchising, there's not a tremendous amount of cash flow up front. Right. So when you look at reinvesting back into the company, we already shelled out hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to be where we're at right now. Sure. And then to have the capital to bring in franchise coaches and bring in all these different support groups and different clerical employees to really maximize that relationship, it takes time and it takes money. Yeah. So it's all part of the growing experience, and it's an inevitable thing. Like, you can't avoid it. Everybody tries to avoid it, but you can't avoid it. So it kind of is what it is. You got to embrace it. You got to own it. And real good. One of our mentors, Steve, I think he paints it beautifully. He says in any business that you're building, there's the us phase, yeah, then it's the we phase, and then it's the they phase. The us phase is when we're out hustling, we're getting it ourselves, we're doing it all. Yeah. Then it's the we phase, where we're doing it together. We're coaching them, we're helping them, we're there when they need us, and we're cultivating this culture that you talked about. And then it's the they phase, where we sit back from a distance, we manage, we make calculated moves, we forecast and look out into the future and kind of steer the ship while everybody else is running the play. And the goal is to get from the we phase to the they phase as fast as possible. But I keep talking about it because I couldn't stress it enough. There's that time factor, and for some companies it's a year, for some it's 5 years. For some, it's a whole lifetime. Some people never get there.
Yeah.
And that's why they need us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, there's 3 C's that I always talk about.
C3.
Yeah, that might be it. It's interesting that your name is C3. I always talk about the 3 C's. I always say that you need to be coachable, you need to be curious, and you need to be consistent. I tell it to my kids. I say it to my wife. Like I tell her throughout my life or my career, because I didn't go to college. I think what has really served me well has always been being coachable, being curious, and being consistent. Because what I find in that, and I would imagine that this has been your case, is that curious starts with that search. Like, I know that there's people out there that have information. I'm going to ask them about the information. I'm going to look for the information. I'm just curious about how I can get this done. Being coachable means you're actually going to listen to them. And that can be a hard thing for some people. Sometimes people can't just shut off like what they know long enough to hear what it is that other person knows. So I invest a lot into that side, being coachable, because I know that there's always going to be something I can learn. And then being consistent, that kind of speaks for itself, but it's, when you learn something and you know how to do it, you got to go through that paces of doing it consistently over and over a period of time. So you actually get to see the compound effort of what you're doing. You didn't start one franchise or one location and say, okay, well, that was enough. You consistently start working towards that goal of trying to get to the next location, even when it's hard. You keep doing it. It's like the gym.
Sometimes I ask myself why I do it, but
I always say, it's like the gym. You don't lose 20 pounds by getting the gym membership. You lose 20 pounds by going to the gym.
Then you got to keep
every
it
day,
off
consistently, day in and day out, or over and over a strong enough period of time or a long enough period of time to where you actually get to see the benefits of why you even signed up for that membership.
It's a very interesting concept, though, because a business is kind of the same way. If you stop working out or you stop eating good, you'll gain that 20 pounds on so fast.
Yeah.
And it's the same. It's the same thing with business. If you are heavily invested in it, you're doing all the right things right, and you reach a certain point. A lot of people get lazy.
Yeah.
And then when they get lazy, they take their foot off the gas, and then the universe and all the other companies kind of catch up to them or go blowing past them. And then they look back, and by the time they realize what's going on, the ship's already left.
Yeah.
It's a perfect analogy to the gym and business, because if you don't constantly keep doing that thing that it is that got you there, which is evolving and growing and getting innovative and making adjustments and understanding that you don't have it all figured out and you are not the big dog. There's always somebody bigger and badder that's just waiting to take you out. You'll get left behind. Yeah.
Another area where business is kind of like the gym. I interviewed one of my trainers early in the podcasting career that I have here. And before we did the episode, I was at the gym with him, and he had me pushing. I was doing, it was like dumbbell bench press or incline bench press. And I went to failure. And at the end of it, he was like, that was a good failure. And it's like, that's a good saying. It's a good failure, because you need that. Like, people don't realize that, like, people want to try to avoid failure. You need it in the gym. You need it in life. You need it in business. Like, you have to go through some failures in order to understand how not to, have those failures. Sometimes you're going to launch a marketing campaign. Maybe it doesn't work. You discover that part of that marketing for that market doesn't work, and you pivot and you shift. But you need the failure. You need the good failure for sure.
No, that's where the growth comes.
But we are rounding about 47 minutes. I usually try to keep these episodes about 30 minutes.
I talk too much.
No. Hey, I always say a good guest will drive how long we have the show for. I want to say, I greatly appreciate you taking the time to come into the studio, which, by the way, Carnie is actually the official first guest of the in-person podcast episodes here in the Lava Hot studio.
This is a great space.
Yeah, so we labor of love for sure. We've been working on just getting this thing kind of dialed in, made some commitments on all the gear, the camera, and all that stuff. But we knew what we're trying to do. We want to. Our goal is 1,000 episodes. So we want to try to get to 1,000 episodes as quickly as possible. My hopes would be that we get to that, not by the end of next year. Maybe we could. But you know, that's a lot of damn episodes to try to crank out.
It's a serious commitment. We talked offline and podcasting and just putting this whole thing together and the editing and the videography. I mean, it is a full-time job. So I applaud you for making the commitment.
Yeah. You know,
I thought I would do it, and then I realized what was involved, and I'm like, I don't think I can handle it.
Yeah. Well, I think once we wrap, I'm probably going to talk to you on why I think you should do it. I think it would be a good thing just for the brand, but then how you're scaling things. And there's some things that you can do, like anything else, that speed up workflow, take a lot of it off of your hands. That's what, when I first got started, I went to a company and I would just walk in, I would do 2 episodes a day. I would just record for an hour and a half. They did the rest.
Right.
And then I never see the episodes. I never watch them because for 2 reasons. One, because I lived it. I was already part of it. I heard what was in it.
Right.
I might refer to like certain bits of it. I'm like, oh, what did he say about that? You know, that franchise concept.
Right.
But I was one of those people, I think like most people, I don't like to hear my own voice. Like, you know.
See, I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Like I'll listen to this 2 or 3 times after we get done.
Yeah. No, it's funny. It's just weird for me. I'm like, you know, and if I don't have to listen to it, I'm not going to.
Right. No, I hear you.
So luckily, Wifey Poo over there in the other room, she's going to be tickled to death that I shout her out. She does all the behind the scenes. She coordinates every single guest. She, you know, makes sure that all of the footage and everything gets over to the editor, coordinates all of that, and then she's typically the one that will publish it all. So
Cool,
it's good.
man.
It's good to have a in-house social media gal that like will take care of all that stuff for you. But no, I want to say that I appreciate you taking the time to come on to the show. I always like to give every guest like an opportunity to kind of plug, like, you know, where they can go to follow you if they're interested in just getting a new roof, where they could go for that, or if they're interested in this idea, this franchise model that you have kind of ironed out, where can they go for that?
Yep. So if anybody would like to follow me on social media, Instagram's probably the most fun place for me, because I'm a lot of it's not work, a lot of it's fun, fishing, hunting, that type of stuff.
Which sidebar? My man came in here. I saw the other day that he caught a shark. He's part-time shark angler. I think I've seen, just since we've been friends on social media, that you've caught 2 sharks.
Yeah, we catch a lot more than that. But yeah.
Oh wow! Yeah. And one caught you, so he's got a shark bite. So he's a survivor.
Shark attack survivor.
And he brought his lovely new fiance with him today. I believe you guys just got engaged, right?
Yep, like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yep. Congrats on that as well.
You.
But I'm sorry, I'll let you get back to like where people can connect with you.
Instagram's probably the best place if you want to follow me personally. It's just at Carnie, Carnie Fryfogle, Fryfogle. If you look up Carnie, I'm going to show up if you can't regurgitate that. The franchise concept, if anybody's interested in it, you can go to cr3franchise.com, and then the actual corporate website where property owners who are looking for any type of exterior remodeling, that website is cr3america.com. So you could go over there and, I don't know, who knows, maybe one of these guys will be a new franchise owner. Just real quick, because I don't want everybody calling me about a franchise.
Systems in place.
Yeah, we are pretty selective about the people that we bring on, and to be completely honest, we didn't talk about this, but there's a lot of consolidation going on in our space where private equity is getting involved, larger contractors are buying other contractors. Gosh, we get a letter like once a week.
Yeah.
And with that being said, our main goal and mission with this is to be a united place for contractors to collectively merge, still keep and operate an independent location, do what they signed up for with large corporate protection, with all the benefits, with all the right systems to compete with the largest players in the nation, and have a home for the next 10, 15, 20 plus years. So we're really focusing on existing roofing and remodeling contractors. I don't want to teach people how to install shingles.
Yeah.
So we're looking for what they call a conversion, a pre-existing company. Most of the companies that we do business with are doing between $500,000 to $3 million in revenue.
Yep. Kind
of hit a ceiling, and they're looking for that next growth phase, and they're looking for a little bit of rocket fuel. So
yeah, very cool. So for everybody listening, just know that All of the information for Carnie will be on lavahotpodcast.com. Right there, if you just search for his name, he'll have a bio built out there. We'll have links to his social media. We'll have links to CR3 for the franchise. We'll have maybe even links, I would imagine, for like if you just need a new roof. In addition to that, I just want to say, if you enjoyed this episode, feel free to check out any other episodes that we have on pretty much any major podcasting platform, also on YouTube. And if you want to try to help the show, the one thing that I ask, go ahead, leave us a review. It's one way that help expand the reach of our show. And with that, I'll call that a wrap. And Carnie, again, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audience, speak with you. I have a feeling we're going to be talking offline, and I think that we probably just created a new friendship, so that's pretty cool.
Yes, sir. Cool. Thanks.
You've been listening to the Lava Hut Podcast with Joseph Connell Jr. Do you want to level up your business? Then visit us at golavahot.com for a free marketing analysis.